details on Nicolas Jackson's move from Chelsea to Bayern Munich, which was on, off, on, off, on, off, definitely on now.
I'm a team guy, so I'm very happy.
Oh my days! If you're Nicolas Jackson, I hope you are covering your ears and not reading the German press. But
I can't wait to start, and I'm so excited to join.
Because he just left a situation in Chelsea where he wasn't wanted.
Fought to leave that situation.
And you know, they won like a lot of trophies.
Did you have a little chuckle there?
The fans can be ready for that.
And he walks into Bayern Munich thinking, man, I'm full of life. Here I go. And then here comes Hoeness and says, life? What life? You have no life. You're barely here. You had to pay to come here. And mind you, you think you're going to have a permanent contract here? No chance. 9. That's not happening.
Listen to this. Chelsea just pulled off a deal so slick it almost doesn't feel real. Bayern Munich, the club that loves to act like the smartest guy in the room, got caught out. They didn't land a superstar like Højlund. They didn't move early for Benjamin Sesko before United swooped. They ended up with Nicolas Jackson, a striker who was already third choice at Stamford Bridge behind João Pedro and Delap.
80 million euros, which I never thought I would say that some club could actually have agreed to potentially pay that much money for Nicolas Jackson.
Suddenly shipped off to Munich with conditions that make you scratch your head. For Chelsea, it was still a robbery, cutting ties with a player they no longer trusted and selling the illusion of value. But for Bayern, the more we hear about it, the stranger this deal looks. And for Jackson, man, he might be the one paying the biggest price.
Now that's for me, I'm sorry, but I want to be clear, that's disrespectful towards Nicolas Jackson. I mean, the guy is not an object. He's a human being. You say you don't want him anymore. You can go play and even on loan for another club because you're not good enough for Chelsea and suddenly you have an injury. Oh, you know what? No, just come back. Oh yeah, but I'm already in Munich. No, we don't care. Just come back. Come on, just pay some respect to the player.
When the news first broke, people called it solid business. Chelsea cashing in, Bayern adding depth. But peel it back, and it's something else. Chelsea didn't just move on from a player. They put Bayern in a corner. They engineered a situation where the German giants had to act, and Jackson became the answer. It wasn't about his brilliance, it was about timing and desperation. Because let's be honest, Jackson was never the guy at Chelsea. He came from Villarreal with raw pace and pressing energy, but the end product was never consistent. Across 35 Premier League appearances, he scored 14 goals, underperforming his XG, missing sitters, and drifting in and out of games. He had a hat-trick against Spurs that made people believe for a minute.
And that looked very tight. Here's the one-on-one. This is the moment. He passes it. Jackson scores.
But he followed it with weeks of silence. He was a streak player, not a reliable reference point. Chelsea fans knew it, the directors knew it, and Enzo Maresca definitely knew it. That's why he became expendable. Not useless, just not central. Now here's where it gets wild. In a market where strikers are going for absurd sums, Chelsea managed to spin Jackson as if he belonged in that category. Darwin Núñez went for £85 million, still raw in front of goal. Kai Havertz cost Arsenal £65 million without being a natural 9. Sesko joined United for £75 million after one breakout year. Victor Gyökeres went for £65 million, Hugo Ekitike for £80 million, Rasmus Højlund for £80 million, Randall Colomwani for nearly £80 million. That's the madness. Meanwhile, Milan picked up Santiago Hoeness for just £35 million. Jonathan David and Lois Openda could have been had for £40 million each, and Osimhen went to Galatasaray for £75 million. The market is inconsistent, inflated, and Chelsea played it perfectly. They waited until those deals closed, until Bayern were staring at Payne as their only striker, and then put Jackson on the table. Timing, leverage, desperation. It all lined up. But then, just when we thought Chelsea had swindled Bayern for a huge fee, out came Uli Hoeness. And man, he dropped a bombshell. He said, "We're very satisfied at Bayern. We're the winners of the summer window. Nicolas Jackson, he's not a £16.5 million loan fee, because the player and his agent are contributing £3 million, so it's only £13.5 million. There will definitely be no permanent contract. That only happens if he plays 40 games from the start, and he will never do that." Oh my God, imagine you're Jackson. Fresh start, new club, new country, and you hear a board member saying publicly that you're basically a stopgap. You'll never meet the conditions to stay, and you even had to chip in money yourself to join. That's brutal. And that's where this deal takes a twist. Chelsea still win because they cleared the deck and proved they could sell at the right moment. But Bayern's side looks less like a calculated signing and more like damage control. They let wingers walk, they didn't strengthen left back after Alphonso Davies' ACL injury, they've got Konrad Laimer playing right back out of position, and they still tried to spin the window as a success. Nagelsmann, after Germany's loss to Slovakia, criticized his own players, pointing to weaknesses. Hoeness tried to claim victory but exposed the cracks. Bayern missed real priorities and ended up with Jackson as a late plug, nothing more. And here's the cruelest part. Jackson left Chelsea because he wasn't wanted. He thought Munich was his chance to breathe again, to rebuild. Instead, he walked into a situation where one of the most powerful men at the club basically said, "Life? What life? You're barely here." That's a humiliation. Imagine hearing you're not just a temporary piece, but one with a ceiling written into your contract. If you ever get close to 40 starts, they'll pull you out just to avoid triggering a buy clause. That's the Griezmann situation at Atletico Madrid all over again. It kills your motivation before you even step onto the pitch. And now it falls to Vincent Kompany to pick up the pieces. The guy's a new manager, trying to settle his squad, and already he has to play therapist. Because how do you motivate Jackson when your bosses have already told the world he's irrelevant? If you're Kompany, do you knock on his door straight away, try to reassure him? Or do you wait, hoping his professionalism carries him through? Either way, he has to manage a striker who feels like the door has been slammed in his face before he's even played. That's not ideal. And it's not just about feelings, because football is unpredictable. Think about it. What if Harry Kane gets injured? It's not impossible. He's had issues before. He could pick up a knock with England, he could tweak something in a Bundesliga match, and suddenly Bayern, who just told Jackson he's nothing more than a body, have to rely on him. That's the gamble they've created. Jackson thought this was his lifeline, but Hoeness' words turned it into a cage. If Kane stays fit, Jackson's minutes are scraps. If Kane gets injured, Jackson is the reluctant solution. Either way, Bayern lose. Chelsea, meanwhile, don't. Enzo's system doesn't depend on a traditional 9. He already proved it last season. Enzo Ferencváros as a creative 10, wingers drifting central as false strikers, overloads through rotations. Neto cutting in, Bino getting stretching, Esteban floating into gaps. Add João Pedro as the reference point and Delap one fit, and Chelsea's attack has variety. Jackson wasn't essential. Even before leaving, he was option 3. Selling him wasn't losing a weapon, it was trimming the fat. But let's be fair, there is risk. João Pedro is now the only real reference point, and Chelsea's injury history is brutal. Nkunku, James, Chilwell, Fofana, all sidelined last season. This year already, Colwell and Cole Palmer are injured. If João Pedro picks up a knock, Chelsea could find themselves with the same problem they mocked Bayern for: no recognized striker. For a club haunted by injuries, selling Jackson could backfire. And yet, Chelsea's blueprint softens that blow. The system spreads responsibility, goals don't come from one man. João Pedro leads one fit, but the rest can cover. Neto, Gittins, Esteban, they can all step in. And when Delap returns, he adds physicality. That adaptability is why Chelsea could afford to sell. They don't live and die by one striker anymore. So what exactly did Bayern get? Not a proven 25-goal scorer, not a Champions League killer. They got a project, a loan, a stopgap, wrapped in public disrespect. Chelsea sold a dream they'd already given up on. Bayern bought a player they don't even seem to want long-term. And Jackson, he's left London unwanted, only to be unwanted in Munich too. That's the real tragedy here. When the dust settles, Chelsea still win. They destabilized the rival, pocketed cash, freed their squad, and showed they can sell smart. Bayern, meanwhile, looked chaotic. They failed to reinforce key areas, downplayed their own shortcomings, and undermined their new striker before he even stepped on the pitch. And Jackson, he's the one stuck in limbo, caught between clubs, fighting for confidence in a place where the board has already slammed the door. Chelsea pulled off the robbery, Bayern got exposed, but Nicolas Jackson, he might be the biggest loser of them all.